Hey, what's up, guys? Jag from Jaggy Sports, and let's talk a little bit about the Knicks. Okay, so Knicks were up 21 points, and then they blew that lead. They blew that lead to the Nets, and the Nets consisting of KD and Kyrie. So the Knicks were up on the Nets by 21 points, and that's not the biggest story. The biggest story is Cam Reddish didn't play. Julius Randle, which is a big deal, he didn't play. You know, they're not on the injured reserve list or anything like that, if that's what you're thinking. But those guys did not play, and Knicks still were up on them by 21 points. And then they blew the lead. So no, it's pretty incredible what is happening to the Nets. Not only the Nets, but the Knicks. Why do I say this? Because come on, it's pretty obvious that Julius Randle is not in the future for the New York Knicks. 100%. You know, he's a distraction. It's just inevitable. Julius Randle will get traded at some point in the season, some point in the off season. He will get traded in the off season, and I'm thinking it's going to be Julius Randle for Zion Williamson and something else. I don't know, or a straight up swap. I have no idea, but that's what's going to happen. Is Julius Randle will get traded in the playoffs. Check this clip out. Julius Randle will get traded in the offseason. Check this clip out.
McMahon, for our little YouTube short this week, you had a really good idea. I'm going to let you tell us what it is.
So we're going to discuss stars, or in some cases, dudes who consider themselves to be stars, who will be sitting on the couch come playoff time and could be on the move this summer. And this was inspired in large part by the little Julius Randle, what do we want to call this? Melodrama, whatever you want to call it, in New York, where
they're actively booing him. He's getting booed at the Garden now on the reg.
I believe it was a radio station up there, Bontemps, correct me if I'm wrong, who reported that Randall basically asked out, which is like, this is a very strange time to do that. The trade deadline was over a month ago. Yeah. So I don't know about the post-game ask out, but look, whatever the case is, it's clear that Julius Randle ain't happy. The Knicks aren't happy with him. The fans certainly aren't happy with him. Now, the other problem with making a trade demand is you have to have trade value, I think, to reasonably demand a trade. I'm not sure that he does this early in a $117 million contract extension. That is not looking.
You know what? He's not a bad contract. You know, the contract
if he played like last year.
Well, he'd be a great contract. You know, I think he ranks like Fred Katz from The Athletic. I was at a Knicks game the other night, and he told me, so I want to give him credit. I think he looked it up. He's like 48th or 49th highest paid player in the league. So for a guy who was all NBA last year, that's not a bad contract. It's just that he's played so poorly this year. The value isn't where you want it.
He's never come back. He's never come back from when he went after the fans in the wintertime. I think in December. Like that. Yeah. That whole it just the season has obviously not gone the way the Knicks hoped it would. He obviously had a magical year last year, as did they. It hasn't gone the same way this year. And it's just been off from the start. And like you said, the vibes here with him have never recovered from that moment. And he's never really, to be fair to the fans, he's never really tried that hard to recover him either. Like he hasn't really, he's given half-hearted efforts here and there, but he hasn't really tried any kind of true mea culpa. So
I think Kat can relate to the Julius Randle relationship with Tibbs. I'll put it that way. It's not going real well.
What'll be interesting is that, so obviously the Knicks are run by former agents of CAA. That's what Leon Rose and Wes Wesley were, agents with CAA. Julius Randle is represented by CAA. He was already there when wasn't like they acquired him. He was already there, but they gave him the contract extension, which I thought was a good contract at the time. They got a guy who was on the All NBA team for well below the max. It was a good signing. We'll see if a player, like CAA approaches Leon and says, "Hey, he wants out of here. Here's where we lean on you, team president. We're leaning on you to." So you knew that was eventually going to happen. Eventually the purposes of the Knicks and the purposes of CAA were going to cross. But here we have the first time it actually is. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I think the better question is, where is he going to, like, where is the market going to be for Julius Randle? I think is the better question. And if they lean on him to move, like where is the team that is looking to acquire him?
I mean, would it be, can you get value for him, or would it have to be a salary dump?
Well, that's what I mean. That's the thing. Like he's a talented player, but I'm not sure, as a power forward who, is more likely to shoot closer to 30% than 40%.
And needs the ball in his hands.
Needs the ball in his hands. It's a tricky fit. It's a tricky fit to find teams that make sense for him. So, he's a good player. I'm not saying there won't be any interest in him at all. I'm not saying that, but it's not the cleanest fit to try to find a spot for him. That's what I'm curious about. Even if both sides decide, hey, maybe it is best to look for a deal, you're gonna have to find one that makes sense. And I don't really see an obvious one off the top of my head that's like Julius Randle would be a great fit with X team.
Julius Randle, I still remember the day, January 7th, Madison Square Garden facing the Celtics. And he did that thumbs down, and he told Madison Square Garden fans to shut the F up. He later apologized for it, but at the end of the day, that's just something you don't do to the Knicks fans. You do not do that to the Knicks fans. Knicks fans are loyal, 100% loyal. And at the end of the day, you got to trade him. He's not in your future plans. And how Tom Thibodeau actually sat him down on the bench, that just gives you a clear indication that he will not be in a Knicks uniform next season. This is Jag from Jaggy Sports.